Science with Mrs. Miller at Buena Vista ISD. We're in Unit 10, and we're going to be looking at light years and theories. So what we want to be able to understand is that light years are units used to measure the distance between objects in the universe. There are several theories also that we want to look at regarding the creation of the universe. And we want to look at evidence that can be gathered from the past to explain the universe and help predict the future. Vocabulary for this little unit happens to be light year, Big Bang theory, and speed of light. Now, what type of measuring unit would we need for distance across space? Well, the kilometer is great for here on Earth, and that is the SI unit. But across our galaxy, including between our planets, through our galaxy, which is the Milky Way, into our closest partner, the Andromeda galaxy, kilometer just doesn't cut it. So what do we need to use? Well, we use something called the light year. Light years do not measure time. It does measure distance. It's based on the speed of light. So a light year is basically the distance that a light will travel through in a vacuum in 1 year. So that leads us to two questions. How many seconds are in a year? And what is the speed of light? Well, in order to figure out how many seconds are in a year, we're going to use something called dimensional analysis, or the factor label method. You might have used this in math before. So we know that there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. We also know that there's 60 minutes in 1 hour, and that there's 24 hours in 1 day, and there's 364.25 days in 1 year. So if we go through and look at all of these, and we multiply each one out, you're going to notice that we can actually cross out minutes here and here, hours here and here, day here and here. So we're left in years and seconds. Well, that big thing ends up to being 31,557,600 seconds per year. That's a pretty big number if you ask me. So what do we need to know? Well, the speed of light is the fastest thing we know. And we use c to represent the speed of light, a little c. And that is 299,792,458 meters per second, or about 186,000 miles per second. To get an idea of how fast this is, you're going to understand that light could travel around the Earth 7 times in 1 second. So 1 light year is basically about 5.880 trillion miles, or 9.5 trillion kilometers. Now we use LY as the abbreviation of light year, and we use that to measure the vast distances in space, and you can see why. Now in the universe, the kilometer meter is way too small to use. So when you look at that night sky and you look at that sun, or you look in the stars at night, you're literally seeing history. Every object that you look at is actually old light. So you're looking at history. Now, for the sun, it takes about 8 minutes of time for light to reach the Earth. That's pretty quick, and that may not seem to us to be pretty quick, but to understand this, it would take you 180 years driving non-stop at 60 miles per hour to get from the sun to the Earth. Now, just to take a look at that, Sirius is a constellation in Canis Major. It's in the night sky in the winter. It's one of the brightest stars there is. So when you look at Sirius, you're actually looking back into time about 8 years. It took that light 8 years to get from the star to the Earth. So if you have any more questions or would like to investigate this further, you can go to the website at the bottom of the page. So we want to talk about a couple things. So what is a theory? Well, they're the most accepted explanation based on the information of research. You want to talk about the theory of the Big Bang, and why do some scientists believe that the universe is expanding, and why do scientists revise their theories? Here's a couple of those answers, but what I want you to understand is that theories are the most accepted explanation based on the information from research. Now, theories can change if the evidence supporting that theory is changed. Now, while the Big Bang theory is the most popular and widely accepted theory of the beginnings of the universe, and is supported by all the observational evidence, there are theories that explain the evidence just as equally well. But until further evidence supports this change or change of ideas, the Big Bang Theory is the theory that's going to be currently accepted. Now, you will be researching one of the 10 other theories, and you will receive a handout modeling that information that you'll need to gather. You can summarize the information about the description of the theory and the evidence, but try to find all the types of information listed on your sample that you're going to get. Please do not plagiarize. Paraphrase the information in your own words. So here's your listening checks. Write them down and put your answers in your journal. For this project, for this unit, we're going to be creating a light year and theory book. And in that, you're going to have your vocabulary, a project that we're going to do in class, which is measuring distance in the classroom. You're going to do another diagram on comparing distances in space. You're going to do that theory research lab that we just talked about a few minutes ago, and a timeline for discoveries relating to the understandings of the origin of the universe. Now be sure to include relevant scientists and their supporting evidence in that timeline. Here's a just quick shout out to the pictures sources for the Earth, Solar System, Milky Way Galaxy, and Andromeda Galaxy's pictures.